Well, thank you so much for your time. We're here at the data conference put on by STR, one of the most popular events in the US every year, but you always use this as an opportunity to see what's coming up and how is everything looking at the moment in the United States?
Yes, it is one of the most difficult times to think about the future and forecasting because of the economic environment in the U.S. You've got a lot of good signs, strong employment. We've got 2 opening jobs for every 1 person looking for work. You've got hourly earnings growing, all good signs for travel into the future. But certainly there are recession seeds of doubt out there. We keep thinking it's coming, it hasn't arrived yet. We've started to see some of that softening in demand in the US, and it's more about a return to normal. So it's more of a demand pattern that we've seen pre-COVID, and that's where we're getting to. It's not that we see big, huge demands and demand declines. I would say a couple of things that are happening. The positive is we're seeing more people go back into urban markets, and we see group and business travel going into those upper upscale hotels and urban markets, and really positive. We expect the growth for the rest of the year to come from that segment for the industry. But the bulk of the growth that's happened in the US has already happened in the first part of the year. The second half of the year, we will see occupancy flat to maybe the fourth quarter, a little bit of decline in occupancy, and all of our growth is going to come from ADR growth.
And you talk about business travel, and at the moment we're seeing more road warrior brands released by every chain than we've ever seen before in the economy, mid-scale, long stay. So obviously there's a lot of demand for that sector at the moment, isn't there?
Yes. It's interesting that those 2 segments, economy and mid-scale, did really well through COVID. So they normalized very quickly, and it was sort of the staple brand where you have the road warrior. If you've got project construction work, people staying long term. And I think that resiliency through a downturn like COVID is what really attracts investors to the segment. But as you look at what's happening this year in those 2 segments, that's where we actually are forecasting a demand decline. In 24, it will come back, and we'll have growth in that economy and mid-scale segment, but 23 is a tougher year because those 2 segments did so well in recovering in 21 and 22.
And if you look at some other markets, obviously everyone seems to be in Europe at the moment. You're seeing some really strong numbers out of Europe at the moment as well.
Yeah, well, of Americans leaving to go to Europe. So we saw some demand softening on the luxury segment in the US this year, and a lot of that you look at, it is the domestic traveler leaving the US and going to Europe. I've joked, everyone that I know that I've talked to who's taken a vacation this year is in Italy, France, or Greece.
It's a bit like that as well. A lot of Aussies have gone there too. If you look at Asia Pacific, a lot of those markets have really come back in force. Thailand, Indonesia, Singapore, very strong markets again.
Yeah, great to see. Especially the Chinese traveler starting to travel outside of China across Asia Pacific. From our perspective, sitting in the U.S., we like to see that because obviously we want those Chinese travelers and broadly Asian travelers coming back into the U.S. I know China just announced that they're going to allow group travel back into the U.S. That's a real positive for hoteliers based in the U.S., trying to get those travelers back.
Yeah, and same with Australia as well. Australia on that list as well. If you look at sort of how important that Chinese groups business is, it's pretty significant, pretty around shoulder season as well for a lot of these hotels, isn't it?
Yes. That is a significant opportunity for us for demand growth to continue, especially in the U.S. when we have this economic uncertainty. We've got those international travelers and that group business for international that hopefully will come back in. We've got some things to work through in the U.S. The visa wait times are well over 400 days, and that's a real problem that we've got to get some focus on to solve if we really want the demand to come back.
And crunching some numbers as well. Obviously luxury retaining its very strong position from a leisure standpoint, and then obviously business travel coming back.
Yes, so luxury has continued to perform well, even though in the US, the luxury segment is the one segment where we've seen some rate decline year over year because they did so well last year, but still maintaining growth in rate. And while we've seen some demand softening, it is that return to normal, and there's still a lot of opportunity. As we look at 24, the majority of the growth will still come from that luxury and upper upscale segment. We do expect growth across the board in 24, positive RevPAR gains for every segment across the board, from luxury all the way down to economy.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.